Okay, welcome back everyone. This is the summary of the first turn of 1941. As you probably know, as you hopefully know, the first turn of every year is, except for 1939, always a winter turn, which basically means that all land units have a movement of just one, and all units, so including naval and air units, only have a firepower of one. These are the two cards that were drawn, and actually for the first time, well, they weren't drawn but chosen from the four that were drawn for this year. Now for the first time the Allies actually won the initiative, and well, you can also see the effect, and I will say a bit more about that later. Now, what did the Allies do with their three command? They moved an infantry unit from Canada to England. Don't know where it actually ended up, but somewhere in England, from port to port. That was a strategic move, so they had two left. What did they do with the other strategic moves? The Soviets moved their land unit that was in Iraq, I believe, back to somewhere in the USSR, which was another strat move, and it ended up somewhere over here. The airplane also moved, but mind you, that was a rebasing, so that did not cost a command. And finally, they attacked the Italian battleship in the East Mediterranean. Now, you may wonder what happened to that Italian battleship. I mean, as I said, firepower was only one, so, I mean, what could these cruisers do? Well, they rolled 2 1s. And as the Italian battleship only had a strength of 2, it was eliminated. And that's a real severe blow for the Italians because, as you know, battleships cannot be rebuilt. So that was a pretty big disaster for the Italian Navy. Anyway, that's what the Allies did with their 3 command. Now, what did the German, well, the Axis, I should say, because Italy is also at war now. What did they do with their 2 command? They attacked the British convoy here, but unfortunately, they didn't do any damage. You can also see an aircraft carrier there defending the convoy. They actually did some damage to the U-boats, but that damage was subsequently restored during the production phase. But anyway, it wasn't a very successful attack for the Germans. What else happened? One thing that definitely did happen is the German dive bomber rebased to Sicily. The Germans, in cooperation with the Italians, are hoping to attack Malta just once more before the Mediterranean is seized from their control, which is, well, likely to happen sometime soon, because as you can see, there are 2 British naval units in Suez. The fortress has been joined by another naval unit, so it looks like the Italians will soon lose control of the Mediterranean. So if they do want to seize Malta, well, they will have to do so on the next turn, or otherwise I believe it's simply not going to happen. Yeah. Oh yeah, and one more thing that happened is I actually tried an air raid, a bombing raid, and it was made against Birmingham and Newcastle, the area over there, York, and it was actually successful. I mean, the the German bomber actually destroyed a factory, so I guess it was okay. The USA, as you may have noticed, has also been deployed. They've also mobilized. They've built another factory. They've built the British convoy, which I believe is the only additional unit they can build, apart from, you know, just upgrading the ones that have already been mobilized. The rules are a bit vague on that, but they mention in the Gazetteer that these units can be strengthened during 1941, and it doesn't mention anything regarding the other units. So I'm not quite sure if those can be built during 1941 as well. It doesn't say anything. I mean, the Russians, for instance, it says that they... I do see some aircraft, indeed, that can be built later. So I suppose the other units, that don't show any such restrictions can actually be built right away. But like I said, the rules are slightly vague on that. But I'll just assume since they're in the force pool and no other restriction is given that technically they could be built. If anybody could clear that up for me, that would be really great. Now what happened during the diplomacy phase? Funnily enough, I was so used to the USA not being at war that for the Allies I rolled for Greece. Fortunately, they did decide to join the Allied side. But of course, I suppose I should have rolled for the USA. But anyway, one turn sooner or later, I don't think will make so much of a difference. The Germans, since they had this card, and Iran and Iraq already out of the question because they're Russian occupied, they rolled for Turkey, but they still needed a pretty high number, I believe a 9+ or something, or an 8+, and they simply didn't roll high enough, so that didn't happen. Upgrading, the British bought all their remaining units from the force pool and deployed them in Britain. The card, so deploy the Anzac infantry at full strength. I deployed it in London, I believe. Yes, I did, in London. Well, what else happened? The Germans, as I said, it's not much use for them to go after the Soviet Union. By now, the Soviet Union is so strong and relatively the German infantry is so weak that that would probably end in disaster. I mean, historically it even did, and their forces were much better equipped by this time of the war. So what I did is I bought a few remaining air units, including the naval bomber. I bought the few remaining naval units, and mostly that's it. Because, yeah, if I'm going to go after Britain, I'll need naval and air power to be able to contest the seas and to be able to take on the British land units subsequently, which are there. But it's going to be a very tough job by now as well. Yeah, I guess that's about it. One thing I forgot to mention during the previous turn was that during the diplomacy phase, both sides... I'm not quite sure if that was true for the... Well, one side actually tried... Yeah, the Axis tried to get Vichy France to join their side, but they declined, unfortunately. I mean, I think it would have been handy for them to have the extra cruiser, for instance, in the Mediterranean, and, well, the land forces might have come in handy too. They could have defended France against the Allies. They could have placed them along the coast, which might have freed up some German units. Well, this is about it for this turn. I think the thing that's most memorable is the elimination of the Italian battleship in the East Mediterranean and the, well, not the entry of the USA, but at least, you know, the deployment, the mobilization of the USA, which is something that is worth mentioning as well. Hope you enjoyed this turn in this video.